Hey there, it's Matt White from GolfCartingTV. Welcome back. Glad to have you here today. We have a cool build today. This is from a cart that had totally burned up and had to be built from scratch. So let's jump in and talk to Chris Rue out of Massachusetts. All right, well, today we are with Chris and coming out of New England. So, Chris, why don't you give me a little bit of background about who you are, where you are, and maybe a little bit about where this cart started from?
Hey, good morning. I'm in Central Mass, Westminster. The golf cart came from Potley's Island, South Carolina. It was my family cart, and it got burnt in a fire. And I drove down, picked it up, and rebuilt it to where it is now.
So it started as what?
2005 Club Car Precedent with just a 6-inch lift and wheels.
Awesome, Chris. So yeah, tell me a little bit about tell me what you've done with this cart. We're obviously looking at the front there, so just kind of give me a walk around and tell me what you've done here.
Yeah, so after it burnt, I obviously needed a new body. So I figured while I was at it, I would put on street legal lighting kit. So it has the Mad Jack's body kit with the Alpha Deluxe grill and the deluxe headlights, and I backlit the grill so it lights up Alpha. Then I modified the factory or the Jake's kit, so I reused the factory lower control arms, added shock tabs, and I remade the uppers and added in just Amazon shocks. And I had to redo it a couple times because they kept bending, so I had to reinforce them. I polished the frame once it was apart. And then in the rear, I wanted to get rid of the leaf springs, so I did the same coilover shocks in the rear with a custom 3-link and a pan hard bar. The seats were also burnt, so I ended up reupholstering them myself, rebuilt the foam, added some bolsters. The dash is
Nice.
just a painted radio dashboard with 6.5-inch speakers, and it has the battery life and radio there.
Yeah, very
I
cool. So that was
integrated
just
all the
an off the shelf. That was an off the shelf
yeah, that was
dash
just
that you just custom painted to match.
off the shelf dash. Yes, sir.
Nice.
And then I built this because I accidentally ordered it for the single den, so it had the big square, and
Mm,
I made the aluminum panel so I could fit the gauge and the radio head unit.
nice.
And
And what's the
the
gauge you have
floor
over
is just
the steering wheel? Oh, what's on the steering column there? The gauge you have there.
that's a multi-function gauge. So it has a speedometer, odometer, blinkers. I don't know if you can see them. Then it has the high beam indicator.
Nice.
So it's just a GPS speedometer. I didn't want to have to fabricate speed pickup.
So the seats you said
And the
you
wheels are
reupholstered, is that just something, did you buy regular seats, or is that something you just grabbed off the shelf and made totally yourself?
no, I've done upholstery on some of my regular vehicles. So I just order, yards of material, and the centers are
Yeah.
CNC sewn panels. But the rest, like all the bolsters, they're factory club car seats that I added this bolster to in the center, here, and then here. So it just matches my other vehicles.
And
Oh, and then
the
I
rims
did
obviously
build
pop out
this.
there. Are those mods?
Yeah, Mods Assassins, and then Mods Rovers tires. I really like the offset of them and how wide they are.
Yeah, for sure.
Then the front bumper, I made this, Baja style aluminum tubular front bumper. You can't see all of it because it's the plate, but and it also holds the two
Nice.
Baja yellow light pods.
So what do you got up under the seat? What's running this thing?
This is a Navitas 4 kilowatt motor with the 440 amp controller, and it has 400 amp hour Amazon batteries. I honestly don't remember the make, but they've 2 years in, they're still fine, so I don't have a problem with them.
That's
It
great.
gets, I can probably get about 30 miles range, 30, 35 miles. And then top speed on flat level is average about 32 miles an hour, down a hill 36, uphill 28.
Yeah, it's not bad. I've heard all kinds of things about the Amazon batteries and stuff, but um, people trash talk them a lot. But if they do the job, then that's great, and they're a lot less expensive. That's for sure.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. And I didn't, well, one of the problems I had, which without having to move the controller, if I would have went with one of the big batteries, I would have had to rearrange where the controller and all the electronics are mounted onto the back panel. It separates
Got it.
the battery box.
Yeah, that makes sense. And is that a like a bimini top on there, just like a canvas fabric top?
Yeah, I believe it's a red dot replica. So it was like $200 off eBay because same thing, that was melted in the fire. It did require some modifications. The factory uprights in the rear were like 3 inches higher. So in order to get it sit level, I had to cut the rear upright down and then
Yeah,
re-weld it, and I had to modify it, put tabs to bolt the the roof onto the factory uprights, and then I added obviously the rear view
got it.
mirror with just some threaded inserts into the cross tube.
So what was the of the build and kind of redoing all this thing? What was the hardest part about putting all this thing together?
The seats were hard, and then the rear suspension, because it was burnt and I didn't have all the pieces yet. Because I found out to replace the front underbody, it's difficult to get from Club Car, and that's the only part you cannot buy online. You have to buy it from an
Okay.
authorized dealer, and it has to be approved by Club Car. So that was hard to get. But I had fabricated the rear suspension without the rear underbody being on. So once it was all done and painted and I went to go final assemble it, the shock mounts hit the body. So I had to chop up the
Uh,
rear suspension for a second time and kind of reconfigure it, refabricate it in order for it to fit without cutting into the plastic. And then the front control arms, they worked good for a little while just riding around the yard. And then towing a yard trailer, I kept bending the control arm, kept throwing off the alignment. So I had to stiffen the upper control arm in order to, well, stop bending. So that was a
got
little
it.
learning process too.
And what do you get the most comments on? Like when people see you driving down the road or whatever, what's the people's favorite thing about the cart?
Well, around here, nobody has a golf cart that are street legal.
Okay.
And
So
I've taken it to Boston.
just seeing it is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just seeing it drive down the street. Like the local cops thought it was like a Montana registered cart, but
Huh.
it's not.
Yeah. That's very cool. How long did it take you from beginning to end to put the whole thing together?
It well, I drove it up here and it kind of sat idle for a year, and then I took it apart, started fabbing the suspension, and it sat in the basement. And I finally, like I said, the front underbody really held me up. I had a contact that was going to help me out getting the factory parts, and it didn't work out. So I kind of waited, and then finally I reached out to C2 vehicles up here, and
Okay.
they were very helpful in getting me the parts and pieces I needed. So I think it took me a winter.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say one
Nice.
winter.
Well, it's well done. I know you've obviously got some background on this, so tell me just real quick about how'd you get into this kind of stuff?
Well, by trade, I went to school to be a mechanic, and I didn't really like doing it. I didn't like fixing, or sorry, maintenance of like vehicles. So I got into commercial construction, and then like I said, I bought this, or I got this from my family after the fire.
Awesome, Chris. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. You got a very cool cart. Appreciate you sharing it with us and coming out and kind of hanging with us today. This is fantastic.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Matt.
What a cool cart. Chris is a good dude and gone through some stuff to kind of make something really cool and personal and unique on his own. So hope you enjoyed that. Hope you will come back next week every Thursday at noon. We have a new episode here at Golf Karting TV. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure you're getting notified on all the things, and we'll see you back here next week, Thursday at noon. We'll see you then.